Okay, now this lesson for DHCP and installing DHCP server. So we can use server 1 as DHCP server. So we can install DHCP from the server manager. We can add a rule on server manager and rules here. Add rule. I'll click on next. We need to install now DHCP server. Okay, we click on next. Then it says this is our network card. You may have more than one network card, and you could use each network card to a certain DHCP server. And here is the domain, our domain, and the DNS that we have. If you have more than DNS in your network and they are up and running, make sure they are validated first, they are up and running. If you have any other not working, it's better to remove it. I will click on next. It says here WINS is not required for application. Some application they're using something called single name domain, and you should install WINS because WINS is almost the only thing that can resolve this issue. Otherwise, you can use it from the DNS from the single domain names or the global names. And since we don't have any old application that requires WINS, so you don't need to install it. Sometimes you have other application that requires WINS, but also we can solve this issue by using the DNS as well from the global names. Here it asks for the scope. What is the scope of DHCP? For example, if you have a network and you need to make a scope for each department. So for the scope name, we can call this one scope 1, or for example, marketing, and another scope. The scope 2 will be called sales. Another scope will be, for example, IT. And the starting scope for example 1 will be 192.168.0. Which one to start from? You have up to 54, so you can start from let's call it 50 up till 100, 192.168.0.100. Okay, it says here just information that for wired it would be least hours 8 days, least duration, and for wireless the same. Default gateway, we don't have any gateway now, so you can click on OK. You can add more than one, as I mentioned, one scope, one for the marketing, other for the sales, other for the IT. Every department has their own range of IPs, so they don't conflict. Of course, these IPs are according to the number of PCs and users. We click next. It says here enable v6. We don't have IP6, so we're gonna disable that. Then click on next. It says here the current credential Humber administrator. Yes, I'm gonna use this one. And we click on install. So now after we install the DHCP server, any computer in the network which has the configuration of automatic IP, it will detect this one immediately. So for example, if we went to server 2, which is in our network, and it's already, let's check the IP here. Its IP as details 02192.168.0.2. Let's, if we change it to automatic DHCP. Okay, so it's preparing, identified. Yes, this is a very good thing. Look at details. It took the one of the virtual machine. To solve this thing, you need to do something. You need to go to server 2, settings, and go to the network card, network adapter, and instead of using the NAT, make it host only. So the network card will not gonna use the VMware. It's hosted only on our our created VM machines. Click on that host only. The same for the server settings. network card. Instead of NAT, make it host only. So only they are hosted on the VMware. They are not netting and not using any external resources. So now here's identified. Let's check the IP now. It's not yet. Let's make it a repair. Let's disable it and then re-enable it. Change adapter setting, right click to enable it, enable. Now member of the domain. Let's check now the IP. Yeah, it's connected to Humble local and it's 1050. That was a good one of the problems that you may face. It's connected to the Humble local now, and it took the first vacant, the first empty DHCP IP. Here in the DHCP server, see, if you open that, we have some errors here, maybe because of, let's read that. Perform TCP IP configuration. It was converting from, let's see here, the service stop. If we read this one, it gives you why these errors are already created. Okay. Otherwise, here's the IP4. Here is the scope. We have here address leases. If you want to check also the PCs reservations, that here if you want to add any reserved IPs, for example, if you have some printers and these printers also having automatic IP, so you don't want every time when you restart your network the printer changes its IP. This would make a very big problem, that if the users are connected to the printer with a specific IP, if that IP is already changed, no one will gonna print. You have to reconfigure everything again on all the users and all the machines. In order to avoid this, you can make a reservation here and reserve the IP for printers, other IPs for servers, so you don't have to type any IP manually. You're just using the DHCP server, and see here new reservation, for example, and you type here the reservation name. You can for example call it printer, and what is the IP you want to assign for. It could be 0, and instead of 50 you can make it, for example, 30, 31, whatever. Then you type the MAC address of that device and you write a description here. Okay, so this for the reservations. Here is for the scope options. You have other stuff. I want to check first server option, and the server option here. The machines that are connected to our network, the PCs which are connected to our DHCP servers. Yes, active directory users. Where is computer? That's users computers. Let's go to Humper computers here. Yes, server 2 is connected. Okay, to our network, and it shows also what is operating system it's using. Okay, and now it is connected to our domain, which in the computer list. If any computer we're gonna join the DHCP servers, this list will be increased accordingly to the PCs which they are joining the domain and taking DHCP.